Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Ventura on a Windows PC. Now this should work either you're using an AMD or Intel processor. The GPU should work as well if you do it properly. Now let's take a closer look. Now here are the requirements. First, we need macOS Ventura Image File. Second, we need OpenCore EFI configuration file. Thirdly, we need Balena Etcher. We need MiniTool Partition Wizard. We need Explorer++. We need GenSMBIOS. We need ProperTree. And lastly, we need a 16 gig flash drive which we are going to use to create a bootable disk. Now I'll provide the links to each and every one of these files in the video description so you can download yourself. Now the next thing we have to do is to check our processor so we know the OpenCore EFI configuration file to download. And to do that, hold Ctrl+Shift+Escape key to open Task Manager and then go to Performance. Now click on CPU and you should see your CPU name right here. In my case, I am using an AMD Ryzen 5 1500X. You may be using an Intel processor, but that is fine as well. Now there are code names associated with both AMD and Intel processors. Intel processors have different code names for every generation. So check the code name for the generation of your processor so that we can download EFI based on that code name. Now click on Performance under Task Manager and here you can see the CPU details. Now you can see I'm using Intel Core i5-4570. This means this is a 4th generation CPU starting with 4 and this is a Core i5 CPU. 4th generation CPUs are called Haswell. So the code name for my CPU is Haswell. So when we are downloading the OpenCore EFI configuration file, we are going to be downloading EFI configuration file for Haswell, which is what we are using. Now we can close Task Manager and then open our browser. First, we have to download macOS Ventura Image File. Like I said earlier, the link to these files is in the video description, so you can click on it and download yourself. So I'm just going to click on Download Ventura and it's going to take me to Mediafire where I can click on Download. The file size is about 13.9 gigabytes and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download OpenCore EFI configuration file. So I'm just going to open the link in description as well. Now let's scroll down and you should find OpenCore configuration file based on your PC. Now you can see OpenCore configuration file for different desktop versions. So OpenCore desktop is for desktop and OpenCore notebook right here is for laptops. So it should work either you're using a laptop or desktop. And then you can see different code names based on your computer processor. So make sure you checked the code name for your PC earlier so you can download based on your PC code name right here. So in my case, I am using an AMD PC, AMD Ryzen 1500X. So if I scroll down here, I can see desktop AMD, Bulldozer, Jaguar, Ryzen, and Threadripper. So if you're using an AMD processor, then this is what you need to download. But if you're using an Intel processor, then you should check the code name of your PC and download the one that suits the PC you're using. So I'm just going to click on download here and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download Balena Etcher. Click on the link to etcher.balena.io and then click on download Etcher. Click on download Etcher for Windows since we're using a Windows PC and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download MiniTool Partition. Click on download now and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download Explorer++. Click on download 64 bits and it should start downloading. Next, we have to download GenSMBIOS from GitHub. Click on the first link to Corp Notes, GitHub, and then click on code. and then download zip. Next, we have to download ProperTree. So search for ProperTree. GitHub as well. Click on code and then download zip. So we should have everything downloaded, and then we can begin the installation. So let's close our browser and then open our download folder. So here we go. This is macOS Ventura Image File. This is OpenCore configuration file. This is MiniTool partition wizard. This is GenSMBIOS. This is Explorer++, Balena Etcher, and ProperTree. So we can now begin the installation. First, let's install Balena Etcher. So double click on it to run it. Agree to the terms. Okay, now connect your flash drive. I am using a 32 gig flash drive I got from Amazon. I'll provide the link in the video description. Now click on flash from file, locate your download folder, and then select the Ventura image file we downloaded around 13.9 gig. Click on open. Now click on select target, and your flash drive should show there. You can click on it and then select. Now click on flash. Yes. And this should take a while to flash. It all depends on the write speed of your flash drive. Now while this is running in the background, we have to work on other things. So next thing we have to work on is our EFI, which we are going to use for the installation. So I'm going to extract my EFI files. Extract files. Okay, so this is the EFI OpenCore file. Let's open it, and you can find EFI right here, and then you can see boot and OC. So just copy the EFI from here, and let's move it to our download folder. Now we can get rid of the EFI folder and the zip file as well. Now let's go back to OpenCore guide. Now this step is only for AMD users. If you're using an AMD processor, then you should do this. But if you're using an Intel processor, then you just have to ignore this step. So if we go to AMD desktop config and then select Ryzen and Threadripper, and then scroll down, under kernel patch, you should see some modifications we have to make here. Now we have to make these modifications to match the CPU cores on our computer. So let's extract ProperTree, extract files, and then open ProperTree, open. Now we can run ProperTree Windows batch file as administrator. And it should open untitled plist. Click on file and then click on open. Now go to downloads and then open your EFI folder. Go to OC and you should find config.plist configuration file, which is right here, config. Click on it and then open, and it should load up your configuration settings. So if you scroll down, let me just close this section so it will be easy to locate. So under kernel you should find patch, and here we go. This is patch. Now we have to modify the patch so it matches with our CPU. So the reason why we are doing this is our CPU has a different cores from the default that would be in our EFI, so we have to set it in a way that it would match with what's in our EFI. So right here you can see you will need to modify 4 patches. Now we have to replace this section with how many cores we have in our PC. So to confirm how many cores we have in our PC, let's open Task Manager again by holding Ctrl+Shift Escape. Go to Performance, click on your CPU, and you should see cores right here. I have 4 cores and 8 threads. So the core count on my PC is 4. So I'm just going to close this. Copy the first section right here. You can see B8 08 0000 0000. Copy. And then let's head to patch under 0 right here. You can see comment Al Gray for CPU ID cores per package to constant, and you should see replace down here. Now double click on it to change the data and then paste it there. Replace 08 with 04 since I have 4 cores. If you have 16 cores, you just replace 04 with 16 rather. So in my case I have 4 cores, so I'm just going to use 04. So set it according to your CPU cores. After setting for 0, we can minimize and then go to 1. Copy the second part and then you should see array for CPU ID and all of that again. Go to replace and then paste it there as well. Change 08 to 04 or whatever cores you have. Let's close 1 and then go to 2. Copy the third row and you can see replace right here. Paste, replace 08 with your cores, and lastly 3 here. So copy the last row and then replace as well. Change 08 to 04 since I have 4 cores, and that is all for that. Now we can click on file and then save. Now you shouldn't do this if you're using an Intel processor. This is only applicable to those using AMD processor like me. Now I can close this and then head back to my download folder. Next, we have to create a unique SMBIOS. So SMBIOS is like your Mac serial, which is going to be associated with your machine. So we have to create a unique Mac serial so we can sign in with Apple ID and use every other Apple service. So let's extract GenSMBIOS. Right click and extract. Now open the extracted folder. Open. And then double click on GenSMBIOS Windows batch file. And it should load up. Make sure you're connected to the internet. First, select 1 to install and update Mac serial. Hit enter. Select 2 to select our configuration plist file and hit enter. Now let's go to our download folder, open our EFI folder, OC, and you should see our configuration file, config plist file. So drag the config file and drop it right inside our GenSMBIOS here and then hit enter. Now select 3 to generate SMBIOS, which is going to be our unique Mac serial. Hit enter. Now to know which SMBIOS to generate, we can head back to OpenCore Dortania guide again. Now for SMBIOS, we're going to choose an SMBIOS that matches with our graphics card. So if you're using a graphics card that falls under AMD Polaris or newer, then this is the SMBIOS we're going to generate, Mac Pro 7,1. If you're using an NVIDIA Maxwell or Pascal or AMD Polaris or newer, then you can use iMac Pro 1,1 as well. If you're using an NVIDIA Maxwell and Pascal, then you should use iMac 14,2. So you have to select your SMBIOS based on the graphics card you're using. So you can just go on Google and search for AMD Polaris graphics cards. And you should find list of graphics cards that falls under AMD Polaris. So you can see RX 570, 580 and lots of other graphics cards. They all fall under AMD Polaris. So just check around and you should find what your graphics card falls under. But in most cases, Mac Pro 7,1 and iMac Pro 1,1 usually works for most graphics card. So I'm just going to use Mac Pro 7,1. So let's close this. Mac Pro 7,1 and then hit enter. You can see it has generated unique serial for macOS installation, and then we can close this. Head back to our download folder. So we are done with ProperTree, we are done with GenSMBIOS, so we can delete them since we no longer need them. Next, let's install MiniTool Partition Wizard. Continue installing the free edition. That is all we need. Next, and then click on finish to launch MiniTool Partition Wizard. Now let's also extract Explorer++. So now we are waiting for Balena Etcher to finish flashing our flash drive, and then we can move our EFI to our EFI partition on our flash drive and begin the actual installation. So let's just wait. And we are done with creating the bootable disk. Now you may get this prompt to format the disk in drive, but just cancel that. We don't really need to do any of that. Now let's open MiniTool partition wizard again. Let's close MiniTool partition and open it again. And if you look down here, the last disk, you should see a removable disk with this icon right here, and under the removable disk you can see the size 28.64 gig, which is around 32 gigabytes, and you can see an EFI partition FAT32. You can see others, and you can see unallocated partition. So this EFI partition here is what we want to work with. So just right click on it and then click on change letter. Now assign whatever letter you want to it. I'm just going to give it X, and then click on OK, click on apply, click on yes. Okay, now let's close this, quit, head back to your download folder and open Explorer++. Right click on Explorer++ and run as administrator. Now go to this PC and you should find EFI X, which is the drive we changed the letter just now. Open it and then delete all the files inside. Now locate your download folder, this PC downloads, and you should find the EFI we've been working with. So just copy that and then go to this PC, open the EFI drive X and then paste it there. Now we can close Explorer++ and then begin the actual installation. But before we start the installation, let's check the drive where we're going to install macOS. So head to your search bar and then search for Partition, and then click on create and format hard disk partition. So you can see disk management right here, and you should see all the hard drive on your PC. In my case, I have 3 hard drive and a flash drive here. Disk 0 here is my M.2 currently running Windows 10, which is what we're using. Disk 1 here is my backup drive, and disk 2 here is just an empty drive I have on my PC, which is where I intend to install macOS. So just take note of the drive where you want to install macOS. However, if you have just one drive on your PC, then you can just right click on the drive and then shrink volume, and then you set how much size you want to shrink. In my case, I don't have enough space on this drive, so I can't install macOS on this drive. So I'm just going to install macOS on this drive called eTechBox. But if you want to shrink the drive, just right click on shrink volume and then select the size you want to shrink, maybe 100 gigabytes. 100 gigabytes should be something around 102,400 megabytes, and then click on shrink. Now anything above 80 gigabytes should be fine. After shrinking, we can right click and then select new simple volume, next, assign a letter, next, and then give it whatever name you want. You can just call it macOS 13, next, finish. So we would find this partition when we are installing macOS, and then we can install it here, and your Windows or whatever OS you're using would continue to still be there. But I just don't really need this since I have an empty drive which I'm going to use. So I'm just going to delete that volume. And then head back to my drive and then extend it. So now we know where we want to install macOS. So we can now close disk management, close our download folder, and then restart our PC into our BIOS. Hold F9 or F12 to boot into your BIOS. It may be different depending on the PC you're using. For Asus, you can use delete or escape key. Now disable secure boot and also change SATA configuration. So make sure the SATA mode is set to AHCI. And then we can save changes and restart our PC. Now open boot options by holding F8 on Asus. It may be different based on the PC you're using. Now we're going to select UEFI SAN disk, which is our flash drive. First, we're going to reset NVRAM, and then it should restart. Open boot options again, and then boot it OpenCore this time. Select install macOS Ventura, hit enter. Now set a language for the installation and continue. Now go to disk utility and then continue. And then you can see eTech box, which is the drive we want to install macOS on. So click on erase by the side up there. And then we can rename this to macOS 13 or whatever name you want. Now change the format to APFS, which is the format which macOS is going to recognize, and then erase. Now if you get this error, just click on done. It should unmount and then erase again for the second time. Let's just give it a name again, macOS 13 APFS erase, and it should erase this time. Now click on done. Let's close this page and then click on install macOS Ventura. Continue. Click on continue. Now agree to the terms. Agree. Select our drive macOS 13, which we erased earlier, and then continue, and it should begin the installation. Now this should take around 30 minutes or more. It all depends on your hardware. It may restart severally while installing, but you just have to wait. And we are done with the installation. Now set up based on your personal preference. Set your country, your region, keyboard format, and every other detail based on your personal preference. You can also sign into your Apple account and access all iServices. So I'm just going to run through this process. You can choose between the light or dark mode, whichever you prefer. And we are finally done with the installation. Now if I go to about this Mac, you can see this is Mac Pro 2019. The processor right here, 3.5 gigahertz. My graphics card is also showing as well, AMD Radeon RX 470 8GB. My RAM is showing, serial number is showing correctly. This is macOS 13.6.6. So everything else works. So basically this is how to install macOS Ventura on your Windows PC. Either you're using an AMD PC or an Intel PC, this should work regardless. Now we have one more thing to do. The EFI for macOS Ventura is currently in our pen drive, but we need to move it from our pen drive to our hard drive so we can boot without the pen drive. So let's head to our browser to download one last software, and then you have to search for ESP Mounter Pro. I'll provide the link to this page in the video description. Alternatively, you could just search for ESP Mounter Pro eTech box, which is my website, and you can download from there. Just click on it and you should be able to download ESP Mounter Pro. Like I said earlier, the link is in the video description. Now after downloading, you can double click on it to run. In most cases, you will get a prompt that you cannot run ESP Mounter Pro. So all you have to do is go to System Settings and then go to Privacy and Security. And you should find a prompt down here that says cannot run ESP Mounter Pro, and then you can click on Open Anyway and it should run ESP Mounter Pro. Now we can close this and then close this. So if you look up here at the top right, you should see an icon for ESP Mounter Pro. So this is going to show the hard drive on our PC. The first disk right here is our flash drive. You can see SanDisk Ultra Media, and the second is a hard drive where macOS is running from. So first, let's click on Mount to mount our flash drive, and then click on Open Volume, and you can see our EFI right here. Next, click on Mount to mount our main drive, and then click on Open Volume, and you can see that this is empty. Now copy the EFI from our flash drive to our main drive. We can then close both of them, and we can eject macOS Ventura and then restart our PC and also remove the flash drive. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.